of mine for years. Jack Barron from Ontario, Canada, has been actively trying to stop chemtrails since before I was even aware of the practice. In the interest of full disclosure, I have a confession to make. In my early years as an activist, I used to steal material from Jack's website and post it on our Facebook page. I apologize, but he's still among the most theft-worthy activist experts I know. You can see the real thing at executivereasoning.com. His numerous videos are both informative and entertaining. Jack's strategy is to communicate with the police and other duty-bound authorities concerning the chemtrail spraying programs. Today he is going to disclose how inaction is criminal. All right, let's welcome Jack.
Hello, and I'm Jack from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm not really accustomed to speaking. So I'm just going to start with a couple of little videos, and then I'm going to tell you how police are the only people to go to, and how they are actually committing criminal code offenses by not listening to you, and how they are liable and can go to jail today.
And we had 4 young people who went from the field. So you can imagine their ages around 20, 21, 22. And it's one of the best things that's happened to our parliament in years. I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I know you've got excitement ahead of you the next few days. But once you get down the road a little bit, I want you to consider why Canada is such a great, great country. It's because we take care of each other, we look out for each other. So I'm going to ask you to do one last thing. And that is question authority. Question people like myself when we make decisions in the parliament. Question people like Paul or even the school board. Your duty as a citizen is to keep an eye on your elected politicians to ensure that they're doing the things that are needed to keep this country's greatest expand. And when you go home,
So that's a portion of the one clip I wanted to show you. That is the question authority. That man is our member of parliament. He would be like a congressman or a senator. He's telling us the question authority. The next video. Welcome to Ontario. I'll just read that to you. The Police Services Act of Ontario says that the duties of a police officer is the police officer has the authority to act as such throughout Ontario. The powers and duties of a common law constable. A police officer has the powers and duties ascribed to a constable at common law. That means if they see something wrong, they can act on it and they don't need a warrant. The Supreme Court of Canada made a ruling and stated the common law duties of police have been described as the preservation of the peace, the prevention of crime, and the protection of life and property. I'll just keep letting this roll. Inspect all airports, air bases for deliveries. Make sure all aircraft are chemical free when they take off. And this is for the police to do. We can't do it. If we hop the fence at an airport, just give it a try and we'll see how far you go. So we're going to put people with badges to do that for us. And I'm going to show you how. So I'm from Canada, and I want to tell you a little bit about Canada. Canada has a constitution just like every other country does. And I'm going to read law to you, and I'm going to try to make it as relevant as possible. Some of it I may say things that are seemingly unimportant, but I'm just going to start and going to get the picture. And as I'm reading stuff, I'm going to show different pictures and just okay. The Constitution Act 1867. It shall be lawful for the Queen, by and the advice of Her Majesty's most honorable Privy Council, to declare by proclamation that the provinces of Canada, etc., shall form one Dominion, Canada. So that's through proclamation. We can make proclamations too. Executive power, declaration of executive power in the Queen. Section 9 of the Constitution Act. The executive government and authority of and over Canada is hereby declared to be and continue to be vested in the Queen. Now, everybody says that she's a figurehead. I'm going to prove to you she's not. The Governor General or other Chief Executive Officer or Administrator to be carrying on the Government of Canada on behalf and in the name of the Queen. Section 15 of the Constitution Act. The Commander-in-Chief of the land of Canada and the naval militia and of all naval and military forces of and in Canada is hereby declared to be and vested in the Queen. Until the Queen directs otherwise, the seat of the government of Canada shall be in Ottawa. The Constitution divides the electoral districts. One of them is Ontario, where I live. And then they divide that further into other electoral districts called ridings. Ultimately, cities, West Toronto, East Toronto, Hamilton, where I'm from, Ottawa, etc. We've been politically designed. And for each province, now this is in the Constitution, and you have it similarly here in the United States, for the states. For each province there shall be an officer styled the Lieutenant Governor, appointed by the Governor General and Council by instrument under the Great Seal of Canada. Section 91, it shall be lawful for the Queen, by and the advice and consent of the Senate, and thus comes to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Canada. So everything is the Queen so far. The Constitution Act 1982, the one that was amended about 25 years ago. Canadian Charter Rights and Freedoms, where Canada is founded upon the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. And the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. Fundamental freedoms. Everyone has the following fundamental freedom. A, freedom of conscience and religion. B, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. Freedom of peaceful assembly and freedom of association. Section 7 of the Constitution. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived of thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. And for one of your rights, or our rights, or my rights to be deprived, it has to be through a court order with my name on it. Everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. Now, this is in the Constitution. I would consider cruel and unusual treatment to be like being ignored when complaining about the spraying. That's cruel and unusual. Equality rights. Every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. The guarantee in this Charter of Rights and Freedoms shall not be construed as denying the existence of any other rights or freedoms that exist in Canada. That would be like common law or any other freedoms and rights that we had before. Notwithstanding anything in this Charter, the rights and freedoms referred to in it are guaranteed equally to male and female persons. Now, I brought that one out because do we really need to say male and female persons? We don't really need to say male and female dogs. So persons is a very important term that some people will pick up on. The Charter applies to the Parliament and Government of Canada in respect of all matters within the authority of the Parliament. It just goes on and on and on some, not gibberish words, but words that will take too long for me to read. And this is a really good one. The Constitution of Canada is the supreme law of Canada, and any law that is inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution is, to the extent of its inconsistency, of no force or effect. So if somebody is passing a law to spray you, and if spraying a civilian population is an inhumane act on a civilian population, and that by definition is a crime against humanity, well then that would go against the security of the person. Thereby the government would have to theoretically act on the criminal code offense of the crime against humanity, regardless of whether it's legal or not to spray people. The Canadian Bill of Rights. Very little attention has been given to this because it's been kind of taken and put into the regular Constitution. This was done in 1960, and the amendment of the Constitution was 1982. I'm just going to read you the Canadian Bill of Rights. It's quite good. The Canadian Bill of Rights is an act for the recognition and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. The Parliament of Canada, affirming that the Canadian nation is founded upon the principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God, the dignity and worth of the human person, and the position of the family in a society of free men and free institutions. Affirming also that men and institutions remain free only when freedom is founded upon respect for moral and spiritual values and the rule of law. And being desirous in enshrining these principles and the human rights and respect of Parliament for its constitutional authority, and which shall ensure the protection of these rights and freedoms in Canada. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Canada there have existed and shall continue to exist the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and the enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived of except by due process of law. Due process of law is, again, a court order with your name on it, that they can spray you. the right of the individual to equality before the law and protection of the law. Every law of Canada shall, unless it is expressly declared by an act of the Parliament of Canada, it shall operate under the Canadian Bill of Rights so as to not abrogate, abridge, or infringe, or to authorize abrogation, abridgment, infringement of any of the rights or freedoms herein recognized and declared, and in particular, no law of Canada shall be construed or applied so as to, I'm just going to pick one of them, impose or authorize the imposition of cruel and unusual treatment or punishment. I'd say being sprayed is pretty cruel. So in our laws, we have protection. And I'm going to show you even more. You cannot deprive a person of the right to a fair hearing in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. And we really can't reach any of the police officers or any of the judicial system. So you can see right there, we are being deprived to be heard. Bodily harm. This is now, I'm going to be talking through the Criminal Code of Canada. That's a federal act. Bodily harm means any hurt or injury to a person that interferes with the health or comfort of the person, and that is more than merely transient or trifling in nature. I would say all of our comfort has been interfered with more than merely transient or trifling in nature. Therefore, this fits bodily harm. Canadian Forces, definition. Canadian Forces means the armed forces of Her Majesty, raised by Canada. It's not the Canadian People's Forces, it's Her Majesty's forces. Environment. Environment means the components of the earth and includes air, land, and water, all layers of the atmosphere, all organic and inorganic matter and living organisms, and the interacting natural systems that include components referred in paragraphs A, C. Everyone, person, and owner, and similar expressions include Her Majesty and an organization. You're going to see here that Her Majesty is quite well and alive in law. Her Majesty's forces means the naval, army, and air forces of Her Majesty wherever raised and includes the Canadian forces. So if Canada was to have a war with the United States, the almighty power of the earth, I'm going to tell you the United States would lose badly. Only because Her Majesty's forces are far-reaching all over the world through the Commonwealth.